Welcome back to the best division in football with your boys Awthentik and The Beard. We got to run this back for my New York Giants. It's going to be real tough, man. Big shout out to El Jefe, who joined me on the Giant Overreaction yesterday, man. That was a really dope vibe. Make sure y'all go check that one out. Go show some love to El Jefe, man, and the New York Revival boys over there, man. Definitely was a good vibe on that show. Ken Dorsey was fired as the Buffalo OC today after the Bills lost to the Broncos 24-22. Maybe my New York Giants could get a little bit of a reunion, little Brian Daboll, Dorsey reunion. I kind of doubt it. We'll see how that goes, though. We got 2 NFC East games to go over. Don't forget, I'll be on Bleacher Report tomorrow around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time talking about these New York Giants, man. It's getting real tough. I am looking forward to talking about the Washington Commanders game against the Seattle Seahawks today with the best co-host in the country. Without further ado, let me bring in the strong side to the left side, and he looking mad wild back there. I forgot about this hat he's rocking right now. What are those?
Oh, you know, this a little. I mean, we're gonna talk about some stuff that's gonna require some luck of the Irish. So I figured, you know, I'd pull that out of my roots, and here we are. You know,
I like it. I like
rocking
it.
and rolling. Listen, I take the odds on Ken Dorsey coming to New York to replace Kafka.
I think if Kafka gets fired, we'll probably see Brian Daboll take the reins calling the plays. Don't forget, former offensive coordinator himself.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I was shocked. I don't know if I necessarily would put the blame on Ken Dorsey for, you know, Buffalo's troubles, although that game last night was pretty tough to watch at times. I mean, the Broncos have beaten the Chiefs and the Bills in back-to-back weeks, so it's kind of crazy. You know who beat
wins.
the Broncos, right?
The Washington Commanders beat the Broncos. So, I mean, that must mean y'all are a better team than the Chiefs, but y'all played the Bills. How'd
it
that
got
go?
destroyed. It doesn't make sense. It never makes sense, you know. So it's going to be an interesting rest of the season. But yeah, it was some crazy games. It was the most games ever in a week to end on last second field goals. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a pretty wild week, to say the least.
Definitely ended on the last second field goal. I saw in regards to Ken Dorsey at OC, Colin Cowherd, literally just 3-4 days ago, he had Ryan Russillo on his show, who does a podcast as well, and he was telling him, he was like, look, you got to look at Sean McDermott as like an alpha type of personality, defensive-minded head coach. He compared him to Harbaugh, right? And Ryan was looking at him all sideways like, you know, Colin, when you come up with these crazy, you know, kind of like concepts, you got to find a way to reel me in on this and whatnot. And then look at this. A couple days later, you see he fires the OC. And he said that, like, those kind of coaches, you know, they're very combative, very hype in the locker room. You know, they hold their coaching staff accountable more than, like, the reserve type of coaches. So he kind of saw that coming. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of information going out around right now of, like, a list of, like, situations or discrepancies that have happened with, you know, McDermott and the rest of the coaching staff there now, and ones that have left previously. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting because I mean, I think Sean McDermott's a good coach. You know, I think they've done a fantastic job with Buffalo since, you know,
I wouldn't go fantastic. I think they've kind of underachieved a little bit, and if you remove Josh Allen from the equation, I feel like they'd be really struggling. I think that they rely on him to play hero ball just a little bit too much. But like you said, man, the coaches, there have been complaints. You saw when the Giants played the Buffalo Bills, when they went to the middle of the field to shake hands at the end of the game, Brian Daboll kind of just gave him like a, get up out of here. Let me holler at Josh. And then Leslie Frazier obviously had his issues with Sean McDermott. And I believe he resigned right before the season started and just left football just randomly. So, yeah, there's definitely something going on over there. Wish I could be a fly on the wall in the front office, but we'll never know for real until some real news comes out.
Very true. Big shout out to Marcus in the chat. He wants to know real quick who I have in Dallas Carolina game. You'll have to tune in on Thursday, but I will say I'm leaning a little. You might get some flowers on Thursday. You have to tune in and see on Thursday.
It might be a trap game. You never know, man. You saw it against the Arizona Cardinals, man. So
I know Giants fans are going to be rooting for Carolina in that game for sure.
Oh, yeah, most definitely throughout the rest of the season. Carolina, Arizona, Chicago, yeah, we rooting for y'all.
Oh, it was great to see Kyler Murray back. He's so much fun to watch play football. I really enjoyed that camera angle of him up top when he's just like,
yeah, balling.
Crazy. But big shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate all the love and all the support. To everybody who's watching us across all the platforms. That's Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and of course right here on the YouTube. Post show.
All right, let's get right to it, man. Talked about this Giants game yesterday for 2 hours on the Giant Overreaction. Got a couple more nuggets to bring to the table here, man. I'm looking forward to these flowers. We're going to talk about the Giants who went to Jerry World to take on the Dallas Cowboys.
Giants are on the board with 11:16 to go here in the third.
All right, we got to do this one more time. We got to run it back. The New York Giants are now sitting at 2-8. The Dallas Cowboys improved to 6-3. The score of this game was 49-17. The Dallas Cowboys were favored by 17 points in this game. The New York Giants got 17 points in garbage time there. The Cowboys have now won 12 straight games at home. It is the longest active streak right now in the NFL. Cowboys have also won 6 straight and 13 out of the last 14 appearances against the New York Giants. Mike McCarthy has now tied Mike Holmgren for 18th on the coaching victories list with 161 wins. I think people got to put some respect on Mike McCarthy's name. I mean, I know a lot of people looking at him as one of them coaches kind of on a hot seat, kind of been a guy who's, labeled as an old school type of coach and whatnot, not really hip to the times. But Mike McCarthy, one thing you can't deny, is kind of like Lamar Jackson is that guy knows how to win games for sure. Dallas's 49 points were the most allowed by the Giants since 2017. The most points allowed during the Brian Daboll, Wink Martindale Giants era as well. Giants had 6 drives in the first half. 5 punts, 1 turnover on downs. Cowboys 21 skunked us with 3 minutes, 48 seconds left in the second quarter. It was 28-0 at the half. First matchup was 26-0 at the half. I put this down on the notes. It's the third quarter. The Giants have 19 total yards at this point with 11:36 left in the third. They're now 0 for 5 on third down. Tommy DeVito is 4 for 7 for 24 yards at this point. He's also our leading rusher with 6 yards. The Giants have less yards than the Cowboys have points at this moment in time. This was a terrible first half. Second half, they kind of got together. It was good to see Sterling Shepard get in the end zone. The Giants were down 28-0 at halftime. It was their largest deficit since the divisional game versus the Eagles, where they were also down 28-0. 28-0. I mean, we about to have to change that to 28 skunk now for the New York Giants because we just have not been showing up. That was the largest halftime deficit in a regular season game since 2010. The Minnesota Vikings had us down 31-0 at the half. The Giants were 0 for 12 on third down. Third straight year that the Cowboys swept the New York Giants. Giants have lost 7 straight games at Dallas. And the Giants defense did not record a single sack in this game for the second game in a row. That's now 5 times out of our last 10 games the New York Giants have not recorded a sack. So the pass rush, one thing that I will say with the argument that happened with the WFAN boys and Carl Banks, one thing that they could have brought up was inconsistent play, because when they were talking about Kayvon Thibodeau, everything that they were saying kind of seemed off, talking about the shape of his body and all this other weird shit, but didn't really mention that there's been inconsistencies with the defensive front for the New York Giants, and losing Leonard Williams definitely is not helping that rush defense at all here. The Giants have now allowed the most sacks in the entire league, worst point differential. The Giants have just 11 total offensive touchdowns in 10 games. Saquon Barkley is responsible for 23.3% of the Giants' total yards and 27% of the Giants' offensive touchdowns. Giants and Cowboys have played now 124 times, and this was a franchise record for the Cowboys as far as yards against the New York Giants. They put up 640 total yards. Second most ever allowed by the Giants. It's the most allowed in the Super Bowl era. It's the second most. Before that, you got to go all the way back to 1943 to find a game where the Cowboys put up more yards against the New York Giants. Dallas's 472 passing yards was the third most allowed by the Giants ever. The Cowboys got 32 first downs in this game. I've just never seen anything like that.
They don't sound real.
They don't sound real. They really don't. That's the third most by a Giants opponent, which is kind of surprising. I thought that'd be top of the charts right there. Giants have now been outscored 89-17 in 2 games versus Dallas this season. The New York offense still has not scored a first quarter touchdown all season. Saw this one from Bobby, and I mentioned this on the Giant Overreaction. Saquon had 7 carries for 1 yard in the first half, 16 attempts for 65 yards in the second half. Just seems like the New York Giants offensively, the philosophy, the theme of what we're doing, who we're relying on to make plays. They were doing this when Daniel Jones was in the game. They were doing this when Tyrod Taylor was in the game. And now they're doing this with Tommy DeVito, which makes no damn sense to me unless they're literally trying to prove that they want to tank, and try to get a number 1 draft pick. Now, it's time to give out some of these roses. I want to bring up Dak Prescott's stats on the screen here. He was 26 of 35, 404 yards, 4 touchdowns. One mistake on the day was the interception. He also had a rushing touchdown. His quarterback rating was 138.3. That's 12 straight wins for Dak Prescott against the New York Giants. Dak has 3 straight games with at least 3 passing touchdowns, 5 straight games with a passer rating over 100. CeeDee Lamb showed up in this game in a major way. CeeDee Lamb is probably the hottest wide receiver in the entire NFL right now. His last 3 weeks have been incredible. He also became the first player ever. I brought up this statistic for 2 straight weeks. He's the first player ever with 10 or more receptions and at least 150 receiving yards in 3 straight games in the history of the damn league, which is kind of crazy, especially when teams know that CeeDee Lamb is going to be the guy in that wide receiver core that's going to attack you. You got to find a way to stop CeeDee Lamb. The Giants had Deonte Banks traveling with CeeDee Lamb throughout most of this game, except when he was in the slot. And Deonte Banks, he was trying his best, man, but keeping up with CeeDee Lamb is definitely not an easy task. And then he ended up getting hurt. You had Trey Hawkins out there getting burnt toast and coffee time a little bit later in this game in the second half. But CeeDee Lamb, the 11 receptions, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. I want to say one of those was on the ground on the jet sweep as well.
Yeah, that first touchdown
7
he
games.
had, I think, was the jet sweep.
Yeah, the first one was a jet sweep. He has 7 games now with at least 10 receptions and 100 yards. That's the second most in the NFL since last year. CeeDee Lamb, also had the pairing with Brandon Cooks, who showed up in this game in a major way. 9 receptions for 173 yards, 1 touchdown. I feel like this game got really out of reach when Brandon Cooks started to cook. Cowboys outgained the Giants by 526 yards, largest point differential in the NFL since 1962. This is the first game in Giants history in which 2 opposing wide receivers each had at least 150 receiving yards, which is wild. I want to dig into that stat a little bit more to see what other teams have allowed 2 wide receivers to go over 150 in a game. It looks like the Houston Texans might have did it as well. The Broncos did it.
I think the Broncos did it in the game against the Dolphins earlier this year.
Yeah, was Jalen Waddle healthy for that game?
They did a lot. It was a lot of damage on the ground, but I mean, 70 points. I feel like Waddle and Hill had.
I'll look into that. I'm gonna definitely look into that. The Cowboys defense so far too, man, at home, they have been playing throughout this home winning streak. The Cowboys defense has been absolutely amazing. They're only allowing 249 yards per game. That's not passing yards. That's total yards per game in 11 games at home. An opposing passer rating of 51.8. That the passer rating scale is not based on 100. That's based on 158. And they're allowing teams, opposing passers, to have a rating of 51.8. And when they're on the road, it's a big difference. That passer rating doubles up to 100.9. But their yards per game allowed on the road, this defense is playing lights out even without Trayvon Diggs, who threw a little shot at Josh Allen this past week on social media. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. I don't know if the people in the chat saw that, but Trayvon Diggs said, homie wasn't really doing much until his brother got over there and started, really getting Josh Allen on the right track. I thought that was a major shot. And especially if you know the relationship between the player and the wide receiver, if you know it's a good one, you wouldn't say something like that. Kind of lets me think that, Stephon Diggs is not quite happy over there. But speaking on the Cowboys here, the points per game doubles, the passer rating doubles, the yards don't double, but the yards increase to 311. I mean, this game, I said that the Giants were not going to cover the 17. I knew that the Dallas Cowboys were going to come out here, put up a big game. Dak Prescott's been playing great football the 2 previous weeks. This is now 3 straight weeks in a row. He's got 4 touchdowns in 2 of these games, 3 touchdowns in another. Dak Prescott is looking like, and I heard people talking about this in the national media, kind of looking like an MVP candidate right now.
I think you have to consider Dak as an MVP candidate for sure. I mean, people like myself will probably be like, oh, well, look at his numbers against the teams that he should be putting it up against, and then look at the numbers against, the tougher teams that he's faced. But I think that at this point, this juncture, it would be irresponsible to not consider what Dak's doing at an MVP level. I think that he definitely deserves to be in the conversation, because I mean, there's nobody's like really out ahead in the race as far as MVP goes, right? I would think that I think CJ Stroud and Dak Prescott have probably been the 2 biggest emergers over the last couple of weeks as far as possibility.
Kirk Cousins,
of MVP.
I thought, was right there with the 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was right there. So unfortunately,
and
tore his Achilles.
Waddle did not play in that game. Tyreek Hill was the only person that had over 100 yards receiving for them.
And it's 150. It's 150.
Yeah,
the number I'm talking
157.
about.
157 is what I meant. Only
Yep.
person. But yeah, nobody else even got over 100. They ran for 350 yards.
Yeah,
in that game.
that's very rare that you see two wide receivers on the same team go over 150. You know, because you normally when a quarterback go 300, 400, we don't see 500-yard games that much. 400, you know, you spreading the ball around at least to 4 or 5 players, you know. So that statistic is definitely alarming. Marquez got a question for you one time. Big shout out to Marquez in the building.
How many fantasy points did CeeDee Lamb have this week? I'd imagine it was up there. Probably he had, what was it, the stats? Because he had 159, one receiving touchdown, one rushing touchdown. Is that what it was? 10 catches.
You talking about CD?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 11 for 157, I believe it was. Is that what you said? 151. 151.
So he probably, you're in a PPR league, you're probably looking at 6, and he had 2 touchdowns, right? One receiving, one rushing.
Yeah.
So that's 12 points, and then 11 catches, that's 23 points, and then 150 yards is 15 points. So he probably had around, 38 to 40 points.
I had Brandon Cooks on my bench with 33 points. Kind of crazy. This is a really good point here, too, by Michael Hahn. Michael Hahn in the building. What's going on? He says the 40-yard pass Dak completed while getting smashed by Deks was just a shake-your-head pass. At least Deks showed he could ragdoll all-timer OG Zach Martin. I don't know if you remember this play he's talking about. It's when Dak was like kind of on his back foot. Absolutely a big boy NFL throw. Like, those are the kind of throws that separate Dak Prescott from the average quarterbacks that I'll say are in the top 10 to top 20 category. Dak, I had Dak at number 10 in my top 10 quarterback list, and I think he's climbing that rank, with the way that he's been playing the last couple of weeks for sure. It's a good point, though. And then Gregory also said that before the game was played, Deron Bland had more touchdowns than all of the New York Giants wide receivers. That's 3 touchdowns. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, the Giants are just such a pathetic organization right now. And then there was some reports from, I believe it's, no, it wasn't Tom Pelissaro. I don't want to butcher who it was. But there's some reports that and this came from inside the building, that they're not dead set on drafting a quarterback in the draft.
I read
which
that
is
today.
Crazy. That's super ridiculous for me. But I know the Giants are going to draft a quarterback at some point or another, but I think you got to go out there and just like really go out there and draft your quarterback, especially if you got top 3. Get him with that pick, man. I think it's time to move on. But what are your thoughts on this game before we move into some draft talk about the New York Giants?
I mean, listen, for me, it's when you see a game like this, right, and you see that score, a lot of people are going to blame. They look at the defense more first, I think. For me, it's like I feel like the Giants defense. I mean, I'm not saying the Giants defense played good or anything, but also at the same time, like, we talk about a lot, with quarterbacks, right? And the famous authentic line is the best offensive line is a decisive quarterback, right? And then I always talk about the best defense is an offense that can control the clock, basically. I mean, the New York Giants ran 21 plays in the first half.
Yeah,
they only had 2 drives the entire game that had 10 or more yards. 2 drives.
The first half, man, like I said, 17 yards at the half. I never seen nothing like this. I never seen nothing like this. Like, it's really ridiculous.
Bad. And it's just, and I think that's why, you kind of have to look at obviously, the coaching staff and the general manager for the New York Giants, because yes, the players have to do what they're supposed to do on the field, right? That's a given. But I just think that, and I'm here to blame too, because I thought the Giants were going to be a lot better team than what they are, but they just did a really bad job of assembling this team. And I think I could say that from experience because of Washington, because there's a lot of pieces that Washington dropped the ball on that is, the downfall of our team right now. And I think that it's just, there wasn't really the upgrades that we thought they were.
Well, I will say this, though, beyond that, right? Look at the injuries across the board.
Yeah, for sure.
Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal,
that's a big one.
Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. Who else? I'm just going offense right now, right? Did I say Darren Waller?
Nope.
Darren Waller. So those were the guys. Those were supposed to be the major upgrades. Getting Andrew Thomas out here, getting Evan Neal to elevate his game in his second year. Those 2 guys get hurt. JMS got hurt at center as well. Ben Bredesen was dealing with injury, dealing with a concussion. Now you got Deonte Banks dealing with an injury. Adoree Jackson didn't play in this game dealing with an injury. Everyone's been hurt, so I don't know if it's necessarily assembling. You know, I don't necessarily think it's just the assembly of the roster as well. The injuries really derailed this team. Now, Daniel Jones, before he got hurt, was not playing well either. Let's not forget Tyrod Taylor also broken ribs or whatever the hell it was. He was on IR. So I think more than roster construction, the Giants got derailed by injuries, but also this schedule that was presented to us did not show a lot of wins either. The only game that we did not win that I thought that we were going to win of this first batch of games was the Raiders game. So really, we're kind of sitting one game behind where I envisioned us being. You know, but now this stretch about to come up and you're not healthy, I think that it's going to nosedive because I expected the New York Giants to kind of pull a traditional New York Giants, like start off 0-6, 1-6, 2-6, whatever it may be, and then kind of try to ramp things up at the end of the year and finish with maybe like somewhere between 6 and 8 wins.
Yeah, and then in this game specifically, you got to take a look just the way that Dallas just moved the ball. Their first 4 scoring drives, they averaged 6.5 plays, 70 yards, 2 minutes and 54 seconds for 4 drives.
Quick. Yeah, like, that's just
quick, long, and it's just. And when your offense is literally like 3, 4 plays, sometimes 2 plays, 1 plays, like not just for like a drive or two, but an entire half, it's difficult. Like I think that that's the case for, I'd say, 75% to 80% of NFL teams as a whole. Is that like no matter how good your defense is, the way that the NFL is played, the pace of play and the speed of the game, the speed of these players, it's difficult for a defense to just hold its ground, like coming off of the field for 2 plays and then going back in and then having to do it again. And then if they just start putting together drives, it's just the whole is just, it happens so fast. And this is 2 games now against Dallas, you know, with in the first game, everybody's healthy. Second game, you know, you have the B squad, C squad. It's the same sort of situation, but it's just super difficult to overcome that with a healthy team, yet alone, you know, with the players that you mentioned being out in this game. It just makes it super difficult. When Dallas is clicking, they're on all cylinders. It's just super tough. And I mean, my God, I feel bad for fantasy owners. Tony Pollard it's just been super difficult for him to get into the end zone. But, you know, I think that they showed a lot of guys, got a lot of burn in this game. You know, Rico got some playing. He actually ended up leading the Cowboys in rushing yards in this game. I think he had 79 yards to lead the Cowboys.
I put in a waiver claim for him too, man. I'm trying to get him on the squad.
You mentioned I lost again. You mentioned Brandon Cooks.
Not me.
Yeah, I know. I saw. Good job, bud. Yeah, it's been tough for me. My we're not gonna talk about it, but my team has been scored on like over 2,000 points. It's incredible. But yeah, and then Brandon Cooks coming alive too. Like that's this for every other team that has to face the Cowboys moving forward. I think that is got to be talked about as one of the scarier situations. Is if you have to deal with Brandon Cooks playing at this level with CeeDee Lamb playing at this level, because that might actually open the door up for Brandon Cooks, because I think people are going to be forced to play CeeDee Lamb a different way now than they might have thought that they would have been able to play him previously. But he's shown, you know, I mean, we've always talked high about CeeDee Lamb, you know, like there's a lot of people out there that want to hate on CeeDee Lamb. I think a lot of that is because he plays for the Dallas Cowboys, obviously.
Totally.
You know, but like he's a top. He showed you his rookie year. The guy.
I will say this though about CD. Like I had question marks about him being the true number 1 wide receiver without Amari Cooper. I had question marks, and with Brandon Cooks coming over there, I thought that this would look a lot better. You know, in the first couple of weeks of the season, we'll say the first half of the season, Brandon Cooks was also dealing with some injuries as well, a little banged up. But he just really hasn't showed out and shown you the quality of wide receiver that he's capable of being, what he showed when he was with, 8 other teams or whatever it may be, with the Rams, with the Texans, with the Patriots. He showed you that he's a 1,000-yard receiver, per year type of guy. And now when you see Brandon Cooks really, really putting the foot to the gas, this Dallas Cowboys offense is next level. But we can't forget, like, this is going up against the New York Giants, which the defense is not their Achilles heel for sure. They started this game off, and I thought they gave the Giants a pretty decent chance by stopping the Dallas Cowboys on the first 2 possessions, one of them on a 4th and 1 on the goal line, And then you end up forcing Dak Prescott in that offense to go 3 and out. And Brian Daboll ends up going forward on a 4th and 2, just a vanilla handoff to Saquon Barkley that I know everyone was questioning. And also the challenge flag that he threw on the first play of the damn game. Like, dog, let them get their feet wet and get settled in. It was clearly not a fumble on that play. I believe it was a quick slant to Brandon Cooks. But the Dallas Cowboys, y'all run this play really well too. I saw it with Washington. We'll get to that game where y'all run these 3 slant concepts where everyone's just running slants. Dallas runs that the best, man. And Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, they just have a certain kind of chemistry that not many other quarterback wide receiver tandems have in the NFL.
Speaking of slants, big shout out to OBJ on that slant from Lamar.
Vintage OBJ. Loved it.
That was so good.
Can't believe they lost that game.
God.
The Ravens are becoming a fourth quarter liability.
Yep. Can't have that in the playoffs.
Yeah, you definitely can't. Anything else on this game before we move to this little next section of this Giants matchup?
I mean, there's nothing else to really say. It's just a disaster right now for the New York Giants.
Yeah, it's really tough, man. It's tough being a Giants fan. I noticed on the Bleacher Report stream, man, people are just completely down, man, and like hope is all gone. The people who are very invested in Daniel Jones too, I think they're getting it the worst. My man BT said this on one of the spaces the other day. He was like, you know, like y'all, you already know, brother L. He was like the Daniel Jones like homers, right? They can be like an annoyance, right? But sometimes the Daniel Jones like pure haters are even worse than that. Like when you got to deal with like it's all wrong, it's all bad, it's been
like,
bad.
It's like politics. It's like there's just these extremists on each end of the spectrum, and there's like it's so difficult to find some medium ground with like logical common sense, you know, where we can all agree on one thing.
And I'm always like right in the middle of that. People do label me as a Daniel Jones hater because I am critical. I'm gonna call it like I see it, but it's like when I got to look at both sides, you know, of the coin here, man. I'm starting to feel like BIG, man. Like, you know what I'm saying, bro? It's really tough. But with the remaining schedule, man, with the New York Giants, I kind of wanted to just take a look at this and see how you and how the family in the chat felt about this. How many more wins do you think the New York Giants might have on their schedule? This is what we got left here for the rest of the year.
So we're going to play spades right now, right? Like,
let's play some spades, man.
Let's play some spades.
Which one of these do you think the New York Giants could possibly get a victory? Those 2 Philadelphia Eagles logos is just hitting me some kind of way. Jesus. You see, the Cowboys just beat us this bad. You talking 54-0 at the half in 2 games. Like, I'm looking at them 2 Eagles games like those might get worse, man. Those might get worse.
I got a one with a possible 2. But
you got one and a possible 2?
Yeah, 1 with possible 2, so 3 total possible.
Listen.
1 for sure, 2 P's.
I got a possible 1. I got a possible 1.
Listen, I think you guys beat the Patriots. Patriots stink.
Let me get 2 possibles. I'll get 2 possibles. The Patriots, look, you say that right now, right? What was the score when y'all played them?
21.
Was it 20?
16,
I thought it was like
27,
26-21. I thought y'all won by 5. Mac Jones was driving late in that game to try to tie it up, got the interception. They were literally just a couple of yards away from beating y'all.
Yeah, but we stink too.
Yeah, but y'all don't stink like the Giants. Y'all are still averaging 22 points a game. The Giants are averaging 11 points a game. Big difference.
Okay, so let's be honest then. There's no guaranteed victory. There's no guaranteed victory in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen, but there's
no question. We talking about possibles. We talking about possibles right now. You said the Patriots stink. That's what made me respond with that.
Yeah, possible Patriots, possible Washington, because we know how Washington drops the ball against the Giants. You guys beat us already once this year, albeit with Tyrod Taylor, who's, you know, the one person I didn't want to play quarterback for you guys in that game. And then I'll give you guys possible Philadelphia last game of the year because they might be resting all their players.
Come on, bro. You're forgetting who the Giants have at quarterback right now.
Well, I think eventually you'll see Matt Barkley, I would hope.
What is that supposed to give us hope?
I think Matt Barkley's better than Tommy DeVito.
I don't know. Matt Barkley has been in the league for like 14 years, and he's only started in 7 games.
I see him. He can sling the rock, though.
I think you're thinking really with your optimistic hat on right there. I don't think there's – and you say rest starters, right? Like, to me, the Eagles are probably going to have the number 1 seed locked up.
Yeah.
Most teams nowadays are not resting their starters for 3 straight weeks and then trying to come out and be cold when they get off that bye week in the divisional round. I don't see that. Those Eagles games to me are definite losses no matter what happens. Like Tommy DeVito at quarterback, Matt Barkley at quarterback. If maybe the one Hail Mary odd you could have here is if Tyrod Taylor comes back to play quarterback and that last game just absolutely doesn't matter for the Philadelphia Eagles. And they still lock up the number 1 seed without having to play. But I still think you might see starters in the first half.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Washington is, listen, Tommy DeVito is getting the start this week. We're not winning that game. The Patriots, that's one of my possibles, but I don't see us beating the Patriots with Tommy DeVito going up against Mac Jones. Green Bay, I think that the offensive philosophy over there is going to be extremely difficult to stop for the New York Giants. I think they lose out, man.
I mean, it's possible. It's 1,000% possible. But, you know, what about Rams? You give them any shot against the Rams?
Not if Stafford's at quarterback. Now you got Carson Wentz as the backup. I'm not giving us a shot against the Rams. I think the Saints could be a possible. Like, you know, you got Derek Carr dealing with the injury, Jameis Winston in at quarterback. But I just, like, when you look around at that team, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas, who put up a dud last week, but still out here playing well, Rashid Shaheed. They got some pieces on defense that could get after the quarterback. I just see all L's, man. I think the best hope might just be like the football gods blessing us against the Washington Commanders. I just don't see any of these games as dubs. I really don't.
Yeah, which ones of those games are? See, for me, you have to look at it like this. You have to look at it as which one of those teams that have the worst defense. I think that gives you the best hope because offensively, you guys are struggling so bad. It would have to be one of the
who gives us the best hope?
Whichever team has the worst defense of these teams.
Oh, you said that gives us the best hope. Yeah. Y'all?
Yeah, I think we have the worst defense probably.
Yeah. That is, yeah, I'd say the
Saints defense is pretty good.
Yeah, Saints defense has been pretty good.
That's tough. Yeah.
I'm going to say the Giants finish the season at best 3-14. At best.
I say you guys finish 4-13 at best. I'll one up it.
Yeah, Kai said he just pulled up, man. You missed a lot of flowers.
You missed all the flowers.
You might want to go put it back on 2 times speed, man. Try to catch up. You missed a bunch of flowers. Telling you, we was blessing y'all. We was definitely blessing y'all, man. That's a big game. Marquez says, I hate to see Awthentik so dang discouraged. It's what it is, man. Like, yo, you know me. I gotta keep it 100 with y'all. Like, I don't see no wins. I don't see any wins. Stephen White said Awthentik has that Vietnam 1,000-yard stare. I like that. Yeah, I'm gonna go 0 wins. We'll hold ourselves accountable. How many wins you going here?
I give you guys one win out of this bunch. No, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys 2 wins.
This dude. Yep.
2 wins. 2 wins.
2 wins. All right, so you got us finishing at 4-13. I got us finishing at 2-15. God damn. 2, is that a thing? 2-15? My God. Yo, has a team ever gone 2-15 during this 17-game type of adjustment?
There has to have been one.
I don't think so. The Jaguars got the first pick. They won 3 games. The Bears got the first pick. They won 4 games. I remember that. That's 2022, 2021. 2020 was the year that the Bucks won the Super Bowl. Who was the 2020? This is good trivia right here. Who was the 2020 number 1 overall selection?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe Burrow was 2020?
Yeah.
So the 17-game season started that year because the Bengals were 2-14 the year before Joe Burrow got there. So I think this might be some history. 2-15. I can't even say it.
It doesn't sound right?
2-15 is crazy. Y'all in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, man. Let's go and get right into this Commanders at Seahawks matchup. Big must win for the Commanders and for the Seahawks. Seahawks came out on top of this one, man. Let's discuss it. All right, Beard, you're going to have to let me get into my bag a little bit for this one, man. I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about for this game. I thought that this was a pivotal matchup for the Commanders. They end up falling to the Seahawks 29-26 on a last-second field goal. The Seahawks were favored by 6. They end up winning this game by 3. Commanders fall to 4-6, which when I looked at that at a glance, I was like, not too bad. Y'all can still make a run here. But right now, y'all are sitting 2 games out, or 2 teams out of the 7th wild card spot in the NFC right now. The Commanders came in with a 4-game winning streak versus the Seattle Seahawks. Y'all were 7-1 on the road versus them. Ended up taking the L. Seahawks had 0 giveaways in this game. They broke a 4-game streak with multiple turnovers. Boye Mafe broke the Seahawks franchise record for consecutive games with at least 1 sack. He's got 7 straight games with a sack, which is ridiculous. Shout out to Thinking Football, who put me on to Boye like 3 weeks ago and was like, this is one of the best defenders in the entire league. Seahawks were only 4 of 14 on 3rd down, so they really didn't get right the way that I thought they could get right. They've been playing pretty, I'd say, inconsistent football throughout the entire year, you know, and I'd say they're probably blessed to be sitting at 6-3 at this point in the season. Just 1 red zone trip for the Commanders all day. They were 1 of 1, though. Seattle was 1 of 2 on the day. The Commanders averaged just 4.9 yards per carry on 14 attempts. Commanders also only averaged 6.1 yards per pass. And your boy definitely was throwing the ball a ton. We gonna get there. Geno Smith threw for 369 yards. Career high for Geno. Kudos to that man, Geno, man. Big shout out. Go figure against the, what were y'all, like the 29th ranked pass defense in the league. 100 of Geno's 369 yards came on the final 2 drives. Geno Smith, on those 2 drives, he was 9 of 11, and one of those incompletions was a spike. Geno finished the day 31 of 47 for 369, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. His 3rd game-winning drive of the season. And DK Metcalf, who I said I really wasn't that scared of, he had a pretty good game, but not a scary type of game. 12 targets, 7 receptions for 98 yards. Tyler Lockett had 10 targets, 8 receptions for 92 yards and a touchdown. But DK was definitely a part of that last drive. He was the main factor. Kenneth Walker III and Charbonnet combined for 189 scrimmage yards together. Walker had 19 rushes for 63 yards. He had 64 receiving yards and a touchdown. This was a game that really featured the running backs out of the backfield, getting a lot of pass attempts and whatnot, and getting a lot of yak as well. The Seahawks had a season-high 489 total yards. The score was 9-9 at the half. Washington missed an extra point on the first touchdown of the game. That was Brian Robinson up the left sideline. And Seattle had 3 field goals in the first half. Could have been 4 field goals in the first half for Seattle, but they had the late intentional grounding call that had a 10-second runoff and squandered an opportunity to be able to score right before the half. Jason Myers made 5 field goals on the day. He's got 12 straight made field goals on the season as well. The big moment for me in this game was when it was 16-12. Seahawks had the lead. Sam Howell on a read option type of play. Saw a little bit of room there, went up the middle, fumbled the ball, man, got stripped. That was Devin Witherspoon who got the strip on him. Me and Mike Swan was talking about this just a couple of days before the game. He asked me, do I think Sam Howell is a dual threat quarterback? And I said, I don't really think so. I think he has the running capabilities, but he runs a little bit high, kind of not really like your traditional type of running quarterback. But that fumble was probably the biggest play of the day, if you ask me. It was 19-19 with under 4 minutes left, and Geno found Tyler Lockett for a short touchdown to push it to 26-19. And then Sam Howell showed incredible resilience on a 2-minute drive, 2-minute drill that ended with a gutsy throw, man. And I really just want to show this throw before I even continue. I did clip this up from the quarterback school. Make sure y'all go subscribe to the quarterback school and tell them Awthentik and The Beard sent you. Put some biceps in the chat one time. But take a look at this throw and take a look at this breakdown of this play design by Eric Bieniemy.
A squirrel curl, all that really means is it's a double move curl. So normally you come up, you run this double move. A lot of people will run comebacks out of this. I think it's easier to run comebacks out of this. For whatever reason, Washington has always been a team that has done the inside of this move. So it ends up being just a deep curl, but with the double move, it takes forever. But when you have this kind of protection, and Sam Howell showing off his base here and his patience within the pocket, and then the throw is just perfect. It's just perfectly feathered right over those 2 second-level defenders who can't get their hands quite up, and it ends up being a touchdown. It's just a thing of beauty, man. It really is. It's pretty awesome. Watch that route up top. Out, up, curl, and then look. over 2 defenders. It's even better from the end zone. It's a great job, man. Competing, giving yourself a chance to win in a really tough environment on the road, doing everything you can except tackling Metcalf. I mean, that is just beautiful. Look at this throw. Look at the patience. Great. Again, it's worth restating. The pass protection is outstanding. Look at the touch. Oh! And the finish in the end zone. Awesome.
Listen, man. So that like woo that he did at the end of that throw, that's exactly how I reacted to it when I first saw it. I was just like, that is an NFL throw. Those are the kind of throws that franchise quarterback makes. When he released the ball, it's not even there. I don't even know how he sees that. It's not even there. Sam Howell ended the day, man, with some pretty good statistics, man. I was really impressed by his play. I definitely think that he was not the reason why y'all lost this game. You got to look at the defense for sure. The fumble was an issue, but, you know, you got to expect your quarterback to be able to battle through one turnover and be able to, you know, win games. And I think Sam Howell did enough in this game. 29 of 44 for 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, had the 1 fumble. He definitely needs to, you know, I think what will separate Sam Howell from being a good quarterback to then being a great quarterback is getting rid of that 1 turnover per game. And, you know, I like how he's learning on the job and he's adjusting. First couple of weeks, he's holding on to the ball. He's getting sacked a ton, 6, 7, 8 times in a game. And now you've seen the last 3 weeks, he has not been sacked more than 3 times. Former New York Giant Leonard Williams did get to him in this game. So big shout out to Leonard Williams, who got his first sack as a Seattle Seahawk. Sam Howell's QBR was 51 on the day. He has a passer rating of 91.5 on the season. Now, the part that bothers me about the game plan, again, is the balance. 44 pass plays, 14 runs. I don't like what I'm seeing from Eric Bieniemy out of that. And then also, I think there's a weapon issue with the Washington Commanders. And that might sound a little bit maybe of an overreaction, but I think that Terry McLaurin would be better suited as a 1B wide receiver or 1A wide receiver if he had a true other wide receiver 1 over there with him. Terry McLaurin now has just 2 touchdowns on the year, 1 touchdown in his last 8 outings. And Jahan Dotson in this game put up a straight-up dud. 0 receptions on 2 targets. Dotson has 7 games with 4 receptions or less. Just 3 touchdowns on the year. I think Sam Howell is like one of the better quarterbacks. I love when I get to look at more tape. And shout out to JT O'Sullivan, who did a whole breakdown of this whole entire game. It's back-to-back weeks now that he's done breakdowns on Sam Howell. So for the Commanders fans out there, make sure you go check out the QB School. Go look at both of those breakdowns. They're amazing. And the things that I'm noticing out of Sam Howell, he's great out of structure. Like, Eric Bieniemy is not putting Sam Howell in the best position to be the best player that he can possibly be. But the kid is just, when things break down, he is so good. The first touchdown to Brian Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
That was a
angle
hot
on
route.
that throw, too. Was crazy.
You talking about, the angle is the second one where he didn't score on that one, but he picked up like 30. You talking about where he he was rolling left and he fit the ball off his right side. That was the second one. The first one, it's a hot concept, right, where the blitz is coming off the right side. Jamal Adams is in the box, and he sees it, and I think it was Logan Thomas running an out route, right? A little quick, 3-yard out, and he saw that the safety was sitting down cover 2, so his hot read was not there. He literally just stepped up in the pocket, broke a tackle off Jamal Adams, and then he hit B-Rob on the left sideline. And B-Rob, he was running just a simple little check down, little swing route to the left side. And when he realized Sam was in trouble, he just kept running it up the sideline. The linebacker who was in coverage saw Sam step up in the pocket, and he wanted to try to protect the run. Yeah. Sam just dumped the ball right over his head. You get Brian Robinson in the touchdown, in the end zone just a few seconds later. And then the other throw that was just a great, just anticipation type of throw, man, where these are the kind of throws I look for in a franchise quarterback. They ran a post corner to Antonio Gibson out of the backfield. I've never seen nothing like that. You do not see a 7 route coming out of the backfield from a running back. And Sam Howell lets go of the ball before Antonio Gibson is even breaking out of the route. The ball is right there on him. Antonio Gibson maybe had to slow down a baby step just to catch it, but the anticipation on the throw was just amazing. There was another play across the middle where
to Terry McLaurin.
It was this wasn't a reception. This was an incomplete pass. But like Sam Howell just showing you that he's a dog. Like the pressure and the pass protection completely breaks down around him. He made like 3 dudes miss, stepped up in the center of the pocket and threw the ball over the middle linebacker's head. He just missed Terry McLaurin. And it almost ended up being an interception. But these are the kind of plays, right, that when you see him on the live broadcast, the casual fan is going to be like, oh, man, he's throwing, that's a, what are these kind of plays called? Turnover-worthy type of play.
Yeah.
But when you see all 22, this is why I love what Amazon Prime is bringing to the game, because you get to see all 22 live with all these different things that show you the routes, show you the concepts, show you the things that people who are knee-deep into football like me want to see. They got to do this with other broadcasts, because when I saw that play live, I was like, what the hell is Sam Howell doing? And then I see the all 22, and I'm like, yo, these are franchise-worthy type of plays from the quarterback position. Now, I'll go back to what I said a couple of shows ago. Throwing Sam Howell out here to the Wolves and learning on the job wasn't the way that I would have approached this, right? But I think he's passing the test with flying colors. This dude is showing up every week. He's putting up 3 touchdowns every other week. All he's got to do is get consistent. It's early on. Y'all know how I'm critical about Daniel Jones at the quarterback position for my Giants, because you get one good week, you get one regular week. You get one good week, you get one regular week. And we are seeing a bit of that from Sam Howell, just a little bit. But this is technically his rookie season. I think that Washington may have found their quarterback. If he can continue to get better and stay on this trajectory, I think you guys got a franchise quarterback. And the last thing I'll say about this, the game ball goes to Devin Witherspoon. 3 PBUs on the day and a forced fumble.
I tweeted in the middle of that game, I said, Seattle's defense is fun to watch. They're young, they're fast, they're tenacious. I think their defense, there's some holes, and they got to be a little bit more consistent. But with Witherspoon and some of these other guys,
Tariq Woolen and Witherspoon, man, like, and to think that both those dudes, they haven't even hit year 3.
No, they're young,
super young. I think that they were the Seattle Seahawks were one of the only teams to go out there and try to start 2 rookie cornerbacks last year. I remember I was doing some digging into starting rookie cornerbacks, because the Giants entered the year, trying to start Trey Hawkins and Deontay Banks. So I was like, let me see what other teams have started 2 rookie cornerbacks. And I think the Seattle Seahawks were one of those teams that did that in the 2022 season for a few games there.
Yeah, they're a fun defense to watch. I thought that they were around the ball a lot, and I mean, like, you saw it too. There was so many passes. You talked about earlier about the running backs in the passing game, right? They were like press. They were pressing almost the entire game, right? And they were not allowing a lot of stuff to open up until like certain points of the game. Obviously, when the defensive philosophy changes a little bit. But I mean, Sam had to throw the ball to the running back so many times. I want to say between Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, they must have had 11 catches. And this is the second week in a row that Sam Howell has connected to, I want to say this is the second week in a row that Sam Howell's connected to at least 9 different receivers. And it's interesting to me.
Connected with 9 in this game as well?
Yeah, I want to say it was 9 in this game as well. And that's the thing that gets to me a little bit about, like, it's such a tough conversation to have, right? Because people are like, you got to get the ball to Terry McLaurin, right? You got to get the ball to Jahan Dotson. And like, I understand that, right? Like, it's not that I'm saying that people are wrong by saying that, okay? Because you do want to always get the ball in your best playmaker's hands. Like, it just makes sense. But I think in some situations, particularly in Washington's situation, especially in the way that this offense has been maneuvering and progressing over the last few weeks, I'm not necessarily upset about it, right? Because if you're spreading the ball out to all these different receivers, right, and especially a young quarterback, to me, what it says is that you're taking what the defense is giving you, right? You're growing through your progressions. You're not forcing the ball into, situations that can be turnovers, okay? And, you're getting rid of the ball also. You're not holding on to the ball, because I think that I don't have a problem with Terry McLaurin not necessarily when it came down to crunch time, Terry McLaurin was there. Before that fourth quarter, I think he only had 2 catches for like 7 yards or something like that.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate a little bit here, right? Like, the problem with spreading the ball around like that is when your guy, Jahan Dotson, who's supposed to be number 2, is at the bottom of the list of receptions and yards.
And he had a couple of drops too.
And to me, he only had 2 targets in the game. To me, it says you have to be able to scheme your best players to get the ball.
I agree with you.
You're not going to see a game where Tyreek Hill goes zero receptions, right? You just not. And I know that's an egregious comparison, right? But like,
I understand.
If this guy is a playmaker, you should be putting the ball in his hands. And that's why I started the segment by saying, like, maybe y'all need another guy over there. Maybe Jahan Dotson turns into what Curtis Samuel is to this offense, the third wheel kind of, and you bring in another guy to be that true alpha number one.
And I wonder
kind of thing.
I wonder if, and this is nothing against Logan Thomas, because I think Logan Thomas I give him more credit than most Washington fans do. And I thought Cole Turner was going to be this guy, but he's been a healthy scratch for like 3 weeks. Obviously, they've just given up hope in him. But I wonder if in a Bieniemy offense, if adding a top tier sort of tight end changes things up a little bit offensively for guys like Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. Does it have to be another wide receiver? Do you think, like, if you had like a guy like, let's say, a Sam Laporta sort of, young tight end guy?
That's tough to find.
It's tough to find, right?
Think of the tight ends that you compare to Sam Laporta. You could go Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews,
George Kittle,
T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, I mean, it's difficult. It is. And I guess to your point, it's easier to find
a Freiermuth or, these guys end up being average. Michael Mayer. There's
my guy Trey McBride, though, this week, man, came through as that fantasy sleeper, man. He had a crazy game for Arizona Cardinals this week. But, I mean, there's a couple of guys I think that, people are having their eyes on coming out the draft this year. But I wonder if that could be a supplement to what you're talking about in this particular offense. Say you can't find that guy. That's just kind of something that I'm wondering, because I feel like that would open up a lot more for those guys.
To answer the question direct, I don't think a tight, because I mean Logan Thomas, when he's healthy, is one of he's a top tight end in the NFC. He could get the job done for sure, and he had a couple catches in this game as well. I don't think tight end will be it. I think it's going to start with balance in this offense.
Yeah,
why aren't we feeding Brian Robinson the ball more? Right? How many carries did Brian Robinson have in this game?
8 carries.
Yeah, 8
carries
rushing attempts for 38 yards. And then Gibson had, added the 42 receiving yards, but he only had 13 yards on the ground, I believe it was. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing with that? Like, 8 rushing attempts for 38 yards is solid. You're not even allowing your running backs to catch a kind of groove and be able to get big chunk plays. Like,
you want to know what the rushing, and it was in the second half is when they did most of their running. They ran the ball 4 times straight. People were losing their minds. The first half, you know how many rushing plays they had in the first half?
I'm going to say, they had 14 on the day. I'm going to say 5.
5 rushing yards, 5 rushing attempts for 10 yards in the first half.
Yeah, I just don't understand that. In a game where the Seattle Seahawks, your defense is keeping you in the game. You held them to 3 straight field goals in the first half, just 9 points. Why are you not running the ball? The Washington Commanders had the lead for most of the first half.
Yeah, and the thing is to me, it's like there was a point there too after that first, scoring. Obviously it was a little bit of a drive before the big play, but you would think that when you get to a point where your offense starts to stall, that's kind of when you kind of ramp up the running game a little bit.
Right.
To like that to me is a perfect opportunity. And we talked about this on the Thursday show. I was like, I need to see, because I'm a big Bieniemy guy, and I think him and Sam Howell are growing together, right? But I talked about I need to see Bieniemy's philosophy change a little bit, maybe, and let's just be frank, get better. Is that post 15 play script Bieniemy? That's where I feel like he just defaults to pass. That post 15 play script. He just cannot find a way to run the ball at that point. And then it's like after the second half, you start to see more of a mixture of the runs. But that in-between period, that second quarter has been brutal for the Washington Commanders this year.
And having opportunities to push the game to a 2 touchdown type of lead and not capitalizing on that. Those windows, those opportunities that I always talk about, like these are ways you can put teams away early in a game. Instead, you allowed the Seattle Seahawks to kind of just hang around that whole second and third quarter, and then by the time you get to the fourth quarter, they've now taken the lead here. I just think Bieniemy, I'm rooting for Bieniemy like wholeheartedly. I really want him to succeed in Washington and ultimately get the keys to be the head coach, here in Washington for the Commanders. But like, you're not going to get it done like this. Sam Howell again, over 40 attempts. That's just not it. And yeah, it looks great on the stats. And I think this is what people talk about when they're like, I don't care about stats. Like, saying I don't care about stats is a ridiculous ass statement. I'm gonna keep it real with you, right? But this is what those people mean. They're like, I don't want to have 312 passing yards for my quarterback, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, only get sacked 3 times and lose the game by 3. And a lot of that's on the defense as well. But I also think that you could keep your defense. Man, when JT O'Sullivan was talking about Mike McCarthy today, he was like, that's the one thing about Mike McCarthy. He's always thinking about keeping the defense fresh. That's why he relies on the run the way he does.
That's why
the enemy needs to do that.
That's what I've been talked about in the Giants game, and that's what that's like my saying when it comes to like, it's the running defensive sort of analogy to your offensive line quarterback analogy that I always use. Like it's so unbeneficial to the defense and to the team as a whole. I did want to give a big shout out to Do Our Gunner for the $5 super chat. Says, how's the only reason we stay in games? EB play calling getting a bit better, but lack of running game makes me mad. How disrespect continues.
Yeah, that's facts. And that's a door gunner. I like that with the zeros. That's dope. I like that. Shout out to Door Gunner one time in the building, man. Appreciate you rocking with us, bro.
But yeah, it's a tough situation. And then obviously, when we want to talk about the defense, and in regards to the way that lack of running game affects the defense, man, first of all, the Emmanuel Forbes ejection was just god-awful.
It's a bad call.
God-awful. And the penalties as a whole killed Washington, obviously, specifically at the end of the game. I wasn't one of the fans though that thought that that was a bad flag on the PI. I thought it was pass interference. Now,
St. Juice was in coverage on those, right?
On DK. And now I think that they could have not thrown the flag. Obviously, yeah, for sure. But I wasn't like going crazy like some people were saying, like, there's no pass interference. I mean, it was a typical defensive play in this era with the kind of arm around and but it was by definition it was definitely pass interference. So I didn't really care about that. But still, that was a 4th down, 4th and 5 play, and you give up the first down, and then you go. The next thing you know, you're giving up 12 defensive men on the field goal kick. So now you're giving them a closer field goal to win the game. It's just those back-to-back penalties really, really like just hurt. And once again, another game, 6 penalties. 4 of those penalties resulted in first downs. Defensively, you're seeing obviously, what life is like without players like Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Absolutely zero pressure on the quarterback all game long.
I'm glad you brought that up, man.
Outside of a couple of plays,
chilling. Gino was
just chilling. And I put up a poll on Twitter in the middle of the game. I said, "What does everybody think is going to happen first? A Commanders sack or a Giants touchdown?" And we barely got a sack. We got 1 sack, and it was not even really a sack. It was one of those scrambles, and you tackled him at the line of scrimmage sack. So, it was 1 sack for zero yards, basically. Is what it says in the box score. But the defense is something I talk about since Jack Del Rio's been here, and you've heard me year after year, week after week. You cannot give up the big plays.
Yeah.
This defense gives up so many big plays, okay? So listen to this. I wait, and I like to like go in and break down like the numbers like that. Like not necessarily just like look at the numbers, but kind of like look at it, like break it down, okay? So I almost call them the 76ers. The Seahawks ran 74 plays in this game. Okay. How many of those plays do you think resulted in were 10 yards or more?
10 or more out of 74. I'll go 14.
10 plays, 10 or more yards. How many of those plays do you think were 15 yards or more?
Of the 10,
well, no, just in general, 10. So 10 yards or more, excuse me, it's 10 yards or more. But there's also 10 of 15.
I'm so damn confused right now.
Okay, 20, so they ran 70. Yards. They ran 74. I should have started with 15. They ran plays. 74 plays, right? Of those 74 plays, 10 of them went for 15 yards or more.
That now it makes sense.
Now it makes
so
sense.
Explosive plays. They had 10 explosive plays.
Yes, but then if you include, because sometimes technically they include 10 yards or more. If you include the 10 yards or more, you're looking at 20 plays total that were 10 yards or more. So 27% of Seattle's plays went for 10 yards or more.
Yeah, and when you run 74 plays, that's a ton already right there. That's wild. What was time of possession like in this game?
Time of possession. So we can go ahead and go into the roadmap if you want, because I was one of those stops on the roadmap. We'll just go ahead and jump right to the roadmap, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, let's go to the roadmap. I need to let Paul's in here. He's crying at the door anyway. So yeah, let's go to the roadmap one time.
Yeah, you get on the freeway. What? No, turn right. Get out of the lane. No. Okay, get in position. Just get out the lane.
Oh, yeah. That's basically what this road trip sounded like. Literally. And let me tell you, before I start the roadmap, Josie is, she's not, hopefully she's not watching. She might be downstairs watching, but she's also a jinxer. The kick, Josie, the extra point kick, Josie's like, you better make this. And I look at her, I'm like, what do you mean? This is the extra point. You're supposed to make the extra point all the time. Bonk, misses the extra point. I look at Josie like, and then out of the Emmanuel Forbes penalty, she's like, oh, he's going to get kicked out for that. I'm like, no, he's not, Josie. And they eject him. I'm like, I'm looking at Josie like, yeah. Absolutely crazy. But back to the roadmap. So, first stop on the roadmap, we talked about holding Seattle to 14 points or less. That obviously did not happen. It was looking pretty good, though, for most of the game until the second half when they decided that they just were going to not play defense anymore. We allowed 29 points, obviously, in the loss.
Dude, it's crazy.
Second one, I got Ace down here on my feet, too, going crazy.
Like
so
cables.
Seattle was to hold Seattle's defense to 30% or less on third downs. They accomplished that. They held them to 28% third down conversion in this game. But Washington, offensively, I said we got to get higher than 50% on third downs. We came up a little bit short. Finished the day converting 46% of our third downs. Now, another thing defensively, which is just hurting, obviously, without, Emmanuel Forbes, without, some of these other guys and Chase Young and Montez Sweat, forcing turnovers has become a problem. I said we need to force 2 turnovers. We did not even force 1. We forced 0, zilch, nada, zipperini turnovers. So that one failed as well. But we are getting better at this sort of sack situation. I said I'm going to need this offensive line and Sam Howell to hold themselves to 3 sacks or less. We managed to do that. We landed right on the 3 sack number. RTDB.
3 sacks or less. You be setting it up.
That one I set up. I some of them you set up, some of them you go ballsy. And this one I said RTDB, right? Last week I said I need 124. We got 125. This week I didn't ask for 126. I just wanted 125. The enemy, big fail. We had 68 yards rushing. Big fail. Then to the one that Awthentik talked about, I said we needed to win time of possession. And I was kind of shocked that we were where we were at time of possession, given the fact that we only ran the ball a certain amount of times and we only had 68 yards rushing. But there was a lot of short screen passes, a lot of passes to the running backs that, like people like to say, are an extension of the running game. We lost the time of possession by 54 seconds. So another failed stop on the roadmap.
Not a good day on the road. Not a good day.
Not a good day on the road, my friend. Not a good day.
Ran
on
out
the road
of gas. Tire low on pressure.
Yeah, it's tough, man. When your defense, the defense is just not it. It's been the biggest disappointment, I think, of the last, let's say, 4 years. The biggest disappointment in the last 4 years has been this defense. It's just been.
You really think that? I mean, y'all defense was top 10 in the passing game like just a year ago. Y'all had the number 1 passing defense in 2020. I remember that.
I know, but
I don't know if you could blame the defense during the Taylor Heineke era.
It's not that I'm blaming the defense. I'm just saying that they have been.
Hold on. What was? Maybe I misheard the quote you said. What did you say?
The biggest disappointment of the last 4 years has been the defense.
How's that not blaming the defense?
It's not blaming the defense because I'm not saying that the reason why we have.
So look, if you let's say we work at the same job, right? And let's say Steven Arce is our boss, right?
Yeah.
Steven Arce comes in and he goes, "The Beard has been the biggest disappointment in this company the last 4 years." I'm gonna go ahead and say he blamed you. I'm just saying,
I can see how I can see how you think that, right?
But
I'm
listen, a man of words, man. I listen to the words, I comprehend the words, and then I try to interpret the words. When you say, "Hey, this person's been the biggest disappointment," who else are we blaming here?
I mean, listen, it's not necessarily a blame game. It's just I have expected greatness and I have gotten average.
I like him trying to talk himself out of this.
That's once a week. Well, actually, once a show. It's just
I'm not blaming the defense. They've just been the biggest disappointment in the last 4 years.
Exactly. There we go. That's how I should have said it.
Horrible. That's horrible.
I've expected greatness and I've gotten average. That's a disappointment, right?
I mean, I guess number one passing defense is, average, I guess it's average these days. Well, let's go over your schedule here and see, because I was looking at some of the playoff picture here. Let me go over the playoff picture for y'all real quick first. In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles have the number 1 seed right now at 8-1. The Lions are sitting at number 2 with a 7-2 record. They lead the NFC North. They're in first place. The 49ers are in first place of the NFC West. I almost want to refresh because I feel like, do they have the tiebreaker on the Seattle Seahawks? I guess they do. The Saints have the number 4 seed right now. Kind of crazy, sitting at 5-5. They're in first place in the NFC South. Seattle Seahawks have the first wild card spot, number 5 seed. They're sitting at 6-3. Cowboys have the number 6 seed. They're sitting at 6-3. And the Minnesota Vikings with Joshua Dobbs are sitting at the 7th seed. Big shout out to Joshua Dobbs. They're sitting at 6-4 in second place in the NFC North. Now on the bubble, as NFL.com likes to put it. The Buccaneers have the 8th seed at 4-5. They're second in the NFC South. And the Washington Commanders are sitting at 9th. Are the Giants on this list? The Giants are at 14th. Still not mathematically eliminated. We got hope, y'all. We got hope. Come on.
Yeah, man. You're in it till you're not, my guy.
The Bears are above us at 13. So that tells you all you need to know right there. Now, let's take a look at the remaining schedule for the Commanders and kind of play the same game we played with the New York Giants. Tell me what your Spades hands
best case
like.
Scenario here?
No, we're doing it the same way. You tell me your possibles, games you think you can win, games you think you can't win, and then give me a record prediction you think you guys fall at. You're sitting at 4-6 right now.
Okay. 4-6 right now. Best case scenario.
We're not doing best case scenario, okay?
Why not?
Because that gives you room to lie and, weasel your way. Just tell me what you think, what games you think you're going to win, which games you think you're going to lose, and where you end up with the record.
Okay. This is tough. You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
New York Giants going to be a W. Dallas Cowboys, I think that's an L. I'm not sure which one's at home.
That game, the second one is in Dallas,
one.
Thanksgiving, yeah.
The first one should be Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, we're in November right now.
Well, I meant second game on the schedule.
Got you. Okay, so I'll give that one to Dallas. Dolphins, I'm going to give them that a W as well against y'all. The Rams is going to be a tight game. I'll give you a W against the Rams. I'll give you a W against the Jets. I'll give you an L against the 49ers. And I'll give you... Y'all can't beat the Cowboys again. Nah, no way. Cowboys sweep y'all. So I'll give you a W against the Giants, Rams, and the Jets. They'll give you 3 more victories. You finish the year 7-9. 7-10.
I think that's the realistic situation here.
No other little wins you could weasel your way.
I mean, listen. The only hope is there's no way I can give us wins against Miami or San Francisco, right? I can't.
Yeah.
So those are definitely going to be 2 L's. The Giants, like I had mentioned before, the Giants wouldn't shock me if they beat us, right? But it's
Those
definitely, we're going to look at it as a win. I see you, Kai. I see you. So the big question is what do we do? The big question is, what do we do against the Dallas Cowboys? That's the big question. So if you split it, you're 8-8. There's a possibility you make the playoffs, right? That 8-8. I mean, excuse me,
8-9.
8-9. Possibility.
Yeah, that's where I remember I had the Giants at 8-9, and you laughed me off.
Yeah.
You were like, "Why playoffs 8-9? Come on."
Yeah. So there's a possibility there. Now,
where do you get the other win though? Where do you get the other win is the big question. Because 8-9, you're sitting at 4 wins. So at 8-9, you need to win 4 of these 7.
Yeah, Giants, Rams, Jets, and one of the Cowboys games.
And one of the Cowboys games get you to 8.
Yeah. Now, so that's why I said is that the 2 Cowboys, you're gonna have to either, get a miraculous win against the Dolphins or the Niners, split against the Cowboys, or sweep the Cowboys, which is obviously the least likely of all things, but you never know. Thanksgiving and, Cowboys, Commanders, I almost said Redskins, Cowboys, Commanders, you just don't know. There's a possibility that
I would not rule out the fact that y'all could sweep them, but I think the odds are extremely slim.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't rule it out because your offense keeps you in games. If you could get some, let's say your defense just like turns it around and starts balling out, y'all have a shot to win any one of these games, to be honest.
Yeah. So it's just going to be interesting. I think realistically though, you're looking at a 7-9 situation. But I'm going to go out and I'll say 7-10. I will going to go out on a limb and say I think we finish 8-9.
8-9. Okay.
There's a lot of people though that don't think we'll win another game.
I mean, you play the Giants this week with Tommy DeVito. What's going on in Washington? What am I not seeing that people in Washington are talking about?
I will tell you that listening to the radio the day after the game, it sounded like we lost to Dallas by 30 plus points. That's what it sounded like.
It sounded like you lost to Dallas with the Seattle loss.
Yeah, the way that people reacted to that loss. I will tell you that loss hurt me more than any of the other ones because it was a game that we needed. It was a game that we should have won and we could have won.
Yeah, if you pushed it, now to 5-5 right now, and then only needed 4 of these next 7, you'd have a real shot.
Yeah, so it's.
Yeah. I see Monique says the Cowboys will be playing for home field advantage that last week. We're giving it our all every division.
Yeah,
game.
you guys were playing for first place last year and against backups, and you guys lost to Washington.
Yeah, they ended up losing to Washington. So maybe that's more reason why they won't, fall for the trap this year. We'll see how that goes. But I'm definitely with you. I think I'm gonna go 7. I'm gonna go 7 wins.
Yeah, 7-10.
Right, win this one to get you to it's crazy. Y'all are sitting at 4 wins. You got teams like the Raiders that are like still in the mix, man, and like all these teams who have 5 wins that I'm just like makes no sense, man.
The thing is,
the
too,
Colts have 5 wins. The Raiders have 5 wins. It's ridiculous.
That's why we're not a good team. We don't know how to win. Like, what do we outside of the blowout loss to the Bills, right, and the Bears? So that's 2 of. I mean, all those other games are 1 possession losses.
Yeah, and I don't really think it's an offensive issue with knowing how to win. Normally, when people say that, like, oh, we don't know how to win, it's like teams start to falter at the end of games offensively. Sam Howell did everything he had to do in this game. The offense did everything they had to do in this game to win that game. And then you just allow Geno Smith and DK Metcalf to just slice you up with only 45 seconds left.
You knew that's where they were going.
Yeah, you had to have known. It's great to have a wide receiver on your team like that you could just line up one-on-one and he's going to win the slant 2 times.
Shout out Marcus. There goes that Beard Dallas hate. I was getting sick and tired of Beard trying to be all logical.
Yeah. He got the natural hater in him for the Dallas Cowboys.
I did a really good job today, Dallas fans,
I mean,
okay?
this is like you really couldn't. You would look crazy if you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would look crazy. Today, especially. I mean, these numbers that Dak Prescott and this offense put up today, absolutely ridiculous. Now, before we let the folks go here, man, we've been going for about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Been a really good vibe for just 2 games. I want to ask you this question, too, about the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, here
Are the
we go.
Dallas Cowboys in the same class as the Philadelphia Eagles?
No. Close, but not there yet.
Very what makes close. You say that?
I need to see them. If I could see them do this against or like anything close to this to against tougher competition, then it wouldn't even be close. But I just think that Philadelphia does the things that Dallas hasn't done yet. I think Philadelphia also has already beaten Dallas.
They
so
did. They beat them by 5 points in a game where, like, offensively, statistically, the Cowboys really should have won that game. It came down to that 4th down conversion that their backup tight end, his knee was down before he got in the end zone. So they were down by 2 scores late, I believe, in that one.
It's not like far. The gap isn't far at all. I think
if
that
the gap's not far, you know how like classes work for vehicles?
Yeah.
You know, like a
semi,
a WRX, not like that. No, not like a semi. No, man. Like talking about like, speed wise, as far as cars go, like a WRX and a Lancer Evolution, they're in the same class, although one car is a little bit faster, or like a Saline and a Evo. That those are going to be in the same class, or like a NSX and maybe like.
So you're saying basically that if they're close enough, I should be considering them in the same class.
Yeah, I mean, think if they were quarterbacks, like we could say Justin Herbert is better than, I'll say Jalen Hurts just for the sake of this argument, right? But that doesn't mean they're not in the same class.
Okay, so yeah,
and here, what I wanted to ask you too, what's the staple win for the Philadelphia Eagles that make you think that they beat good teams and the Cowboys don't?
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that the Eagles beat good teams and the Cowboys don't, but the Eagles have shown more consistency to me, right? The Cowboys lost to the Cardinals, okay?
The Eagles lost to the Jets.
The Eagles lost to the Jets. Fair game. So, let me see. Before I just continue speaking out of my butt.
And the reason I didn't say you said that, right? But this what you were kind of leaning towards is like the Eagles' consistency and all that, right? But the Dallas Cowboys have really only lost to premium teams.
The Eagles haven't beaten anybody either, to be perfectly honest with you.
They haven't beat anybody.
The only team that they've beaten, the best win is the Dolphins. Dolphins and Cowboys.
Yeah. And you don't really consider the Cowboys up there, so I can't.
Well, no, I consider the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the 3rd best team in the conference.
Okay, so that kind of goes again. Then, if they're the 3rd best team in the conference,
then they should be in their class.
That answers the question. Yeah. That answers the question. Yeah, so they're in their class. I think they're in their class, and I think that they should have won the last matchup, actually. I think when they play them again, the Dallas Cowboys are going to win that game, too, as long as they're healthy.
So let's see. Dallas they've only beat the Giants, the Jets. So they don't have a win against a team with a winning record at all.
The Eagles.
No, the Cowboys. They haven't beaten anybody with a winning record.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not their fault, though. Damn, their schedule. They play the Panthers, the Commanders, the Seahawks. They have a tough. Their end of their schedule is where they're going to be tested. Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, Commanders to end the season.
Yeah, some good tests right there for sure.
That's tough.
That Lions game's gonna be a good matchup.
Man, that Lions Chargers game lived up to the hype.
Yeah. Remember, I switched on that one. Bro, you got to go back and tally up these parlays. Bro. Just saying. Boy been on fire on the parlay.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm looking at Kai 001 right now talking about the Cowboys wins are by an average margin of 25.5. That's a little bit skewed because you played the Giants twice.
The number ain't skewed. It's just that's what it is. You literally just said they can't determine who they play.
Well, you can't, but I mean,
when I look at the Cowboys, especially when clicking on all cylinders, right? Offensively, I give the edge to the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Cowboys' defense might be the difference maker and why. Not only are they in the same class as the Eagles, but why I think that when it comes down to it, they're going to be better than the Eagles entering the playoffs. Remember, I talked about this early on. I said the Cowboys' mistake, not even a mistake, but one of the problems they've had throughout the past years is that they play their best football before you get to December. This game that we just saw here in middle of November, this is the best Cowboys offensive output we've seen all year long. If they can build from this, keep stacking on this, their defense is doing what their defense is supposed to do.
I think I'll say this, and this kind of goes to round it out, and this kind of doubles down on what I was talking about when I had the outlandish Mike McCarthy take. If Dallas doesn't beat themselves they can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think you just going with that off penalties. How else do they beat themselves? An occasional pick from Dak?
Yeah, I mean, like when there's situations. That's what I'm saying is that like the penalties. Yes, I'm not necessarily specifically speaking on it, but I just think that they're good enough to compete with any team. But the thing is that when they've lost, it's kind of been because of what they've done, not necessarily as much as what their opponent has done. Does that make sense?
A little bit, but I don't see that. I mean, to me, the Cardinals just flat out beat them.
Yeah, that is an interesting game because I went back and I looked at the numbers in that game, and there wasn't really like
they were like almost never in that game. They
Yeah.
were trying to catch up from a 2-score deficit the whole entire game. The 49ers just dominated them. They did exactly what they were supposed to do against the Philadelphia Eagles. They got big games out of CeeDee Lamb, big game out of Dak Prescott. That's what happens when you play good teams. Somebody got to win, and it came down literally to inches, going for it on 4th down, and the tight end not getting enough depth. I wish it was Jake Ferguson there. I forget the rookie's name.
Scholenbach.
Something like that. Something, 2 O's in there for sure. Got an ooh going on in there. But, yeah, I mean, it just came down to that play being challenged, and looking at it and not really, being in the benefit of the Cowboys. But I didn't see them shoot themselves in the foot in any of those losses. They just get 2 of them. They got their ass kicked.
Well, but I mean, the penalties are an issue.
Yeah, penalties have been an issue for sure.
And some coaching decisions have been some issues. And it's nothing major. That's the thing, though, is that when you're playing against the best, right, and you're trying to make it to the Super Bowl,
Shoemaker, that's his name.
There can't be those sort of mistakes.
Like I think you kind of just making that up.
Okay.
Because I think like they're not a team that's like shooting themselves in the foot. I don't look at them like that.
I mean, some Dallas Cowboys fans believe me.
Yeah, I just don't think. I don't think they be shooting themselves in the foot. Like San Francisco was a better team.
Philadelphia is a better team than too?
That day, I think they were.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Dallas got off to a sketchy start in that game as well, too.
And I think we both agree, though, that there's not anybody else in the conference that competes with Dallas right now. Oh, yeah, Lions. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's going to be
tough.
tough.
The Detroit Lions. And, I mean, if you look at the Minnesota Vikings getting Justin Jefferson back healthy, and then also with Joshua Dobbs getting more acclimated to what's going on offensively over there, I think that they could be in the mix. They could be a team that could beat the Cowboys, right?
Who do you think wins in a head-to-head matchup right now? If Detroit and Dallas were playing this week, who would you pick?
I'm going to go off the evidence of those two teams. I see Dubman says I'm on the Cowboys sack. I mean, that's just a hater comment. The Cowboys are a good team, bro. That's just what it is. But I'll go off the 2 matchups, right? They both played the Chargers, right? And look at how the Cowboys played the Chargers and the fits they gave Justin Herbert, and look at how Detroit played them. Detroit would have to get out to an early lead. I would pick Dallas to beat Detroit today. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be it. You always bring up a good point when I want to go the other way.
Man, dog, I know ball, man. I know ball. I'm not, Dub man over here to just like, I don't like the Cowboys. I'm just like, Cowboys suck. Dak Prescott ain't any good. I'm not going to come up here and sit up here and look like a damn boo-boo the fool talking like that. I can't do that.
What's interesting is I was thinking about, last thing. I was driving. I do a lot of thinking when I'm driving. And so like I was like, I wanted to be, I was thinking like, man, a lot of people will probably look at the stats of Sam Howell, right? And then I was like, the people want to say Sam Howell's a top 10 quarterback.
I've been hearing the talk, yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I could. I think he's a top 15 quarterback, top 10, no. So I started like going down the list and like thinking in my head, like, outside of what, how we looked at that when we started the year versus now. Obviously, there's been some injuries and stuff like that. So a lot of people kind of knocked out of that list for right now. But man, Dak's closer to the top 5 than he was even and he was like he was in the 10, 11 range. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can think of Dak more as a top 5 quarterback now than we started the season. I had him on the brink of 10.
I had him at the number 10 spot. Let's get to this super chat from Dubman, who's
big shout out to Dubman for the $1.99 super chat. It says Dak threw 3 picks against the 49ers and Micah went Casper. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, but that wasn't the last one, right? That was the one 2 years ago, I think. Or was that the one that was just this past season in 2022?
No, because I don't think Dak threw 3 interceptions in that game.
I don't think he did. I think that's the 2021 game against the 49ers.
Yeah.
Let me know if you know the answer to that, Dub, man. I think it was 2021. Yeah, I mean, that happens. But, dude, great quarterbacks throw interceptions in games. And I think for Dak Prescott, it is living up to the big game. It is when you get to the playoffs. And I think that they've drawn a
that was
difficult
this
card.
year.
That was this past one.
Yeah.
They've drawn a difficult card playing the San Francisco 49ers in back-to-back seasons, you know. People forget that they won a playoff game because they lost to the San Francisco 49ers. They beat the Bucs in the wild card. People just kind of ignore that. But I think Dak Prescott is not like – you can't look at him like a Daniel Jones kind of Kirk Cousins. He kind of shrinks underneath the big lights, but he needs the big playoff wins. He's in the same position as a Lamar Jackson to me, but I don't look at Lamar Jackson as like a choke artist, you know. I think that they're both good quarterbacks. They're trying to bang on that door of being great quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott's kind of right here at his like last limb. Like, you got to start playing great football now or next year. He's the longest tenured quarterback on the same team in the entire NFL, so it's time to get it going for sure. But yeah, I mean, I got to give Dak his kudos when they're there. I mean,
yeah,
right. I'm curious to see when you go over your top 10 quarterbacks, who did you have, and like where did you have them at? You know,
I didn't get a chance to rearrange them. What I did was I kind of just went through in my head each division and seeing like who I would pluck out of that division to consider in top 10.
That's what I'm saying.
So NFC East, I had Dak and Jalen, and I put Sam aside. And then I went to the Central. I took Goff. I think Goff, I still do that. The North.
Yeah.
And I took Goff out of the North as a possible top 10 guy. So that's 3 right there.
Do you remove people that have injuries? Like, is Kirk Cousins out of the question?
Yeah, he's out of the question.
I don't know if you could do that. Let me tell you why I don't like that. That's when you do put a guy like Daniel Jones somewhere near the top 10 last year. There's a big difference in top 10 quarterback and top 10 quarterback within the year. I think there's a big difference in that.
Yeah, there is a big difference. But that's what I'm saying. Is like I'm talking about like top 10 quarterbacks right now. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Kirk Cousins is done for the year. So you can't.
You're talking about top 10 quarterbacks in the 2023 season, though.
Yeah.
I don't like it because it doesn't transfer over to next year or none of that, because once Kirk is healthy, I'm taking him above a Sam Howell right now. He doesn't turn the ball over as much, right?
Yeah.
I think a guy who has not played this year, you could probably remove from the equation. Like an Aaron Rodgers, I get it, but like Kirk, it makes it tough.
So I had Goff. I had Goff out of that division, and then moving into the South, I didn't take anybody from that division at all.
Yeah, that's Carr, Baker, Bryce, and
Heineke, Ritter, whatever.
And Heineke and Ritter. Yeah.
So and then the West, Matthew Stafford, who was one of my guys going into the season. I took him out of the equation. I did add Brock Purdy though into that list, even though he's, I thought he had a great bounce back game this week. So I took Brock Purdy out of the West. I didn't take anybody else out of the West and the NFC. So that out of the NFC, you got Dak, Hurts, Goff, and Purdy with Sam as an outside shot, right? And then going into the AFC, I took Josh Allen, Tua out of the East. So now that puts us at 6 total. Then out of the Central, I took Lamar,
this guy,
Lamar and Burrow. That puts me at 8 right there. And then we go to the South. I took CJ Stroud and Trevor Lawrence. That's 9 and 10 already right there. And then out the West, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, and Sam Howell and Russell Wilson are kind of like my outside guys, but you're already
Russell Wilson on the outside right now.
Yeah, you are. Playing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't compile them all in order, but I had Sam Howell and Russell Wilson as guys that I would consider in the top 10. But my ultimate reaction is that Sam Howell's not a top 10 quarterback. It's just not.
I don't think Sam's in the top 10 right now either. He's close, I think, as far as this season goes. Russell Wilson's back in the top 10 now. He's the way he's been playing the last couple of weeks, and just like even when they were struggling, his numbers were still really good. He was number 2 in the NFL as far as passing touchdowns go. I think Brock Purdy is in the top 10 right now as well. I mean, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's been consistent since he got in the league. We can debate the situation, and the weapons that he has over there with San Francisco, but nonetheless, he's playing good football.
The one guy I thought also
12.
that would thought about taking, dropping, not necessarily just off of his performance, but just because I think there's people have been playing better football is Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has been playing good, but I just feel like there's some guys that are just playing really lights out football right now. It's kind of difficult when you look at the quarterback position and the way people are playing right now. And I guess some people would argue Josh Allen because of the turnovers, but
yeah, but even with the turnovers, Josh Allen still got less.
He still has the most touchdowns of anybody else too. Like over that,
he got less picks than Sam Howell. He's got less picks than Sam Howell, from what I remember. At least entering this past week, he had 8. I thought.
Yeah, I think now he leads the league in interceptions.
Yeah, and T-Law right now, I'm gonna check on Josh Allen. T-Law is 9-6 right now with the ratio.
Yeah.
Josh had 2 yesterday.
2 or 3.
Yesterday? 2 yesterday versus the Broncos. Now he's got 11. So he entered that game with 9, but he's got 19 touchdowns, 2,600 yards, 70 completion percentage. And for me, it's like you can't be a guy. Even C.J. Stroud. Okay, he's playing great, right? I'm not gonna put C.J. Stroud over Josh Allen in a top 10 list.
No, I'm not either.
I can't put a guy like Sam Howell who's played 9 games, 10 games. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there though. I mean, I'm sure you saw the graphic where they had Sam Howell's face up there with the MVP.
Nah, I didn't see that, John. Lately,
crazy.
I ain't been on Twitter as heavy, just scrolling and whatnot. I just be going there answering stuff, but I've been a little bit busy lately. But we got another super chat.
Shout out to Dub man for the $1.99 super chat. Says Dak is better than DJ. Dak is as good as Kirk. Allen's better than Dak, barely, and Cowboys are stacked. It's like a riddle.
Ooh. So I agree with everything he said, except the Cowboys being stacked. I like all the quarterback comparisons because they do call Dak Prescott the Black Kirk Cousins. So that equal is really good. I like that. And Allen over Dak, barely, yeah, because Allen has the running capabilities for sure. But the Cowboys are stacked. I don't know, man. CeeDee Lamb, and then it just kind of fizzles down. If Brandon Cooks can play the
like
football
that
we know, then you could say that they're stacked at least at the wide receiver position. But Jake Ferguson at tight end to me is just an average tight end. He's a tick below a Logan Thomas. He's average. And then you got Jalen Tolbert and you got Michael Gallup. And Tony Pollard as the single running back is not working. Yeah. Maybe they should go out there and get Michael Carter. But I don't know. With Rico Dowdle getting attempts, man, he's been playing well. But to me, he's too much like Tony Pollard. He's the same build, same style of back, kind of is tough between the tackles, but more of a fast runner, quick agility, stuff like that. I'd go get a bigger running back to pair with Tony Pollard to wear these defenses down. They should have found a way to bring back Zeke Elliott, man, I feel like, after free agency. I don't think that was the vibe. But shout out, Dub, man, for supporting the channel, man. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Well.
So final consensus, I say the Cowboys are in the same class. Did I convince you?
You convinced me. I'll give you that. It makes it, the way that the question is worded, it's proper answer to say that they are in the same class.
Good stuff, man. Sound like you're talking to your teacher. I like that.
Professor Awthentik.
You know how everybody got the mom voice. You be talking all gangster when you with the homies like, hey, what's up, bro? What's up? Mom call. You be like, hey, mom, how's it going? Your voice completely changed, yo. Yeah, Monique said Allen has an interception problem consistently every season. What? It jumped on me. He's on Madden and hasn't met his expectations. Look, I had a screenshot of Josh Allen's numbers like right before the game yesterday. I was gonna respond to a tweet with it, and I was like, let me wait till this game is over before I pull this one up. If you look at Josh Allen's numbers, though, from when Brian Daboll left to the following year, it was literally the exact same numbers except one less interception. Let me pull them up for you here. So Josh Allen, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions last year, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions the year before, 37 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions the year before.
Listen, you live with those interceptions if he's putting up those touchdowns.
Yeah, as long as you're 2-1, you don't got a problem to me. When you start getting up there around that 3-1 area, you pushing greatness.
Yeah, and the expectations I think is a wash too, because he built those expectations. They didn't necessarily come with expectations with him being as good as he was when he came into the league. So he built those expectations over the last couple of seasons. But that being said, he still is expected to be elite and to be able to take that team over the hump, and he has not been able to do that.
And listen, I kind of disagree with that a little bit. Like, just the last part, like, you can't expect a quarterback to get you over the hump when they literally got nothing going over there except Stephon Diggs. That's it.
Yeah, damn, I'll tell you, after that fumble, James Cook looked like a different animal last night.
Yeah. I like Cook. I think he's a good young back, but they rely on Josh Allen too much in Buffalo. And they've gotten away with it in those 2 seasons, 3 seasons where you saw the maturation of Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs out there. Gabe Davis was actually having some good years there too, but like they went with the whole Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox type of thing. They don't run a ton of 12 personnel either, so I don't understand why they have 2 touchdown-dependent tight ends on the roster. It really doesn't make any sense to me. To me, I think they just need to they need another weapon. They need another true weapon, and I think it would be perfect if it was at running back. Like, they remind me kind of the San Francisco 49ers a little bit. And when you implement CMC into that San Francisco 49ers offensive attack, it just takes them to greatness. It really makes them that much better.
Big shout out to Dub Man for photo on 99 cent super chat. Says Dallas D is lights out last 2 years and O is very capable, yet we say they aren't stacked, but somehow on the same level as the Eagles and 49ers makes 0 sense.
If you want to go defensively, I think you could say that they're stacked defensively. I thought he was more focusing on the offensive side of the ball and the weapons. Yeah, the defense, especially when Trayvon Diggs is healthy.
And this is
they draft well. They draft really well.
Yeah, this is the thing, too, is that you can be a top-tier team without being stacked.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we've seen that.
But defensively still. Defensively, I think that they're very stacked.
Yeah, defensively.
Offensively, I think they aren't. I really don't. In years past, they were. Let me tell you when they were stacked, when they had Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard and Amari Cooper. That's when they were stacked. Yeah. I'll definitely say that. But, like, when you look at, like, the Minnesota Vikings weapons, to me, they look better than the Dallas Cowboys weapons do, offensively. But, yeah, I mean, if you want to say they're stacked, I mean, if it makes 0 sense to you, it don't bother me, bro.
And listen, the other thing is, too, I see a lot of people being like, oh, well, Dak has these different expectations and all this and that. It's true, but that's not necessarily on Dak. If Dak played for any other team besides the Dallas Cowboys, it would be different. That's
a little
my
bit.
opinion.
Because Dak is it's tough to tell because he's in that tier below the guys that are like really elite.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people enter and they leave that class a lot, right? You see a lot of different quarterbacks who enter that category of, like, call them franchise quarterbacks. They enter that conversation, and then a year later, you're like, oh, what happened to that guy? He's not in this conversation anymore. Dak Prescott, through the 8 years, has remained in that conversation the whole time. So, I mean, I think you know what you're getting out of Dak Prescott. He's not going to elevate your team like a Patrick Mahomes or like a Josh Allen is, but also you know that you're not going to get those lulls that you would get from a Josh Allen, too, trying to play hero ball. And I think that responsibility lands on the Dallas Cowboys to put the right team around him because defensively, they've absolutely built that. I love how they drafted CeeDee Lamb when they had Amari Cooper. That pairing was really well, but now you got to find another way. They tried to bring in Jalen Tolbert. They tried with Cedric Wilson Jr. last year. They tried with Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup blew out his knee. None of those guys are really that 1B wide receiver. And to me, I think NFL is kind of shifting now. I said this last year on the podcast. Like, one alpha wide receiver 1 is no longer enough for you to be considered a great team in the NFL anymore. You need to have that 1B wide receiver, which is why I think teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, they are stacked. When you look at teams like the Miami Dolphins, they are stacked. And I think a lot of it has to do with having that 1A, 1B wide receiver.
There's a lot of interesting conversation going on in the chat right now.
Yeah, I see it, man. But any last thoughts on this question before we let the people go, man?
No, I think we're gonna start to find out a lot more about Dallas towards the end of the season. And that's gonna be fun to watch from a football fan perspective.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, man. Big shout out to the gang. We appreciate all y'all pulling up, rocking out with us on all platforms today, man. It was definitely a vibe. Only 2 games, but we got a lot of information out there, man. Definitely appreciate the fam rocking with us today, man. Y'all know what it is. Any last words, Beard, before we get them up out of here?
No, big shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. All the chatter in the chat makes conversations, a lot more in depth, and we really appreciate it. You guys keep us pushing. Big shout out to Awthentik. If you guys haven't been checking out Awthentik on the Bleacher Report app, make sure you guys go over there, follow Awthentik on the Bleacher Report. Big shout out to El Jefe for stopping by on Monday's Giant Overreaction. And yeah, we got some exciting stuff. It's our week. It's our week again here. One more time.
I don't know if we got some exciting stuff, but it's definitely our week. We'll see how that goes. I think I just came up on a ticket or two for the game too, so I'm pretty stoked about that. We'll see how that goes. But y'all know what it is, man. Keep in tune this week. I'm going to be trying to drop a pre-recorded video leading up to this matchup against the Washington Commanders, man. We'll see. The tank job is in season for the New York Giants. Y'all keep living those dreams. Keep raising that bar because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT, Mr. Combat Jack himself. And that's a wrap, Beard. I will catch y'all tomorrow on the Bleacher Report. That should be around 2 p.m. And then Thursday, we'll be right back here for the preview show for the game of the week. New York Giants headed down to FedEx Field to take on the Washington Commanders. Y'all be good. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Peace.
Won't you tell me